I'm going to do is I'm going to show the status bar, and we're going to go to our layouts. And you'll notice if you've ever used this this demo file, there's a desktop folder, and there's folders for different types of layouts. I've created a new folder called Setup and Preferences. This is a technique I've started doing in a lot of different databases. It's a group of layouts that are used for, as the name implies, for setup and for preferences. So, and in this folder, I typically will have layouts that are only used for administrators. So the whether or not those layouts are viewable or not viewable is reflected in the security model. So here's a layout in setups and preferences that only the full access person, only I can see. Or maybe you might have a point person who filters all of this feedback information up to the developer, so you don't have to deal with all of your users one-on-one. But anyway, only the appropriate people can see the feedback layout. And again, keeping in mind that the key to this whole system is simplicity. All this is a simple form view of the different requests that have been made. And we're at the last one right now. So you can see this one is the negative amounts one that I submitted. And there's the title, the description. Here's a screenshot of exactly where I was at the time that I placed that submission. And here's a snapshot link, which would also take me to that place. It's important to have both of those things because you could be sitting on an invoice and inspiration could strike and you have an idea about the product section of your database, or you could be sitting in HR and thinking about something else. So these two things play off of each other. Maybe the screenshot is important, maybe not. But you don't know what's important until they've already submitted something. There's three important tools that I have on this layout. One is a status. This is just for me to know whether or not something is new, in progress, and completed, no action, or cancel. A lot of times people will give requests that are just not usable, that aren't reality. So no action is needed on those. And you do want to keep track for each individual thing if something, once you've started doing it and you've completed it. And there's a field for keeping notes. So that's the first two things that are important. The third thing is the created by. This is who created this request. And you'll notice that the label for created by is underlined. This is actually a button, and what it will do is it will give me the ability to send an email back to the person who submitted the request. Now, in a real system, you would probably have a way to grab the email of the person who submitted it based off of their account name. In this case, I don't, but you would do that. And what I do is I copy back what your comment was, and it has a subject, your feedback. This part is very important. You want to give feedback back to the person who submitted the request. It could be just simple, like I got it, I'm thinking about it, it's on the list, or just some kind of a feedback so they know that they're being listened to. That's important for people. So it's to have an easy way for the developer to just shoot back a quick email saying, I got it, it's a great idea, it's on the list, I'll do it someday. Or maybe it's just a quick bug fix, it's fixed, not a problem. And then once it's fixed, you can say it's completed. There's no other reporting. One other thing that I found was useful to do was have a button here to simply hide anything that's been completed. So it just shows me the things that are in progress or with a status of new. So this is just an easy way for me, if I have some free time, I can go through the feedback list and take a look at some of the things that I need to get done. So this is a demonstration of a simple feedback system. what I'd like to do is just show another variation of something that we came up with here at IT Solutions. Once I show you another variation, what we're going to do is I'd like to go through the simple one, and we're going to actually build it together. At the end of the webinar, I'm going to take this sample file, and I'll put it up on the website for anyone to download, and you can really take it apart, okay? But we're just going to build it together right now. Let me show you the other version before we move on. Okay, so I'm going to log into this system, not with the full access account. I'm just going to log in as a test user. I'm going to log in as Bob. And this is a student database that we've built at IT Solutions. This is for tracking students. It's a special use database, actually, for students who are enrolled in deaf-blind schools. The purpose of the database is not really important. It tracks students and test scores, things like that. But what I'd like to show to you is an idea that we got from looking at the Bugzilla website. Bugzilla is a web tool primarily used for programmers for tracking bugs, but it had a neat feature. So let's say I'm in my student database and I'm clicking on a random student name, anonymized, and I'm going to go to my help menu, and under the help menu I have my submit feedback because I've noticed a small bug. Maybe the age isn't calculating properly. I'm going to submit feedback. Well, since this is this is illustrating the point that you don't always have to take a screenshot, and under certain circumstances there might be some privacy concerns. You might want to ask whether or not you want to be allowed to take a screenshot of the user's screen. I'll say, sure, you can take a screenshot. It doesn't bother me. Now, instead of getting a dialog box where I can fill in the database, what I'm first presented with is a list of all the feedback items that have already been submitted to the database. So we can see here, there's a bunch of bug reports, there's a bunch of suggestions, and there's some others. You need all three categories because there's always another, right? And what I can do is I can look at these and let's see, view by type. I'm going to click on details. It's going to say the words in the fields are not visible, and there's votes. Now, I might see that and say, you know, that's what I'd like to report. I've seen that too. So I'm just going to vote on that bug. And now there's a 1 here because it has more than one vote. There's the person that submitted it, and then there's me. Here on these equipment requests, that's a pretty long one. I voted for this one, and the admin also voted for it. So there's 2 votes for this one. This is a way that maybe if you have a larger system and a lot of people making suggestions, or hopefully not, but maybe a lot of bugs, you can cut down on the number of things that people report because they'll see in the bug list, oh, that's the bug I want to report. Someone's already reported it. I just want to vote for it. So they know that I've seen it also. Now, after you've looked at this and you said, you know what, I don't see my particular problem on here, look up here. I can make a new feedback item, or I could just close it if I have more important things to do. So I'm going to say new feedback item. It closed that list, and now it took us back to our old friend, our dialog box. I could put in a title, student pictures. And this is a suggestion. It would be nice to see pictures of the students. And depending on your particular use, you might want to require them to fill in both a title and a description, or just a title or just a description. I like to require both. A little easier for me because usually the title is like a bigger bucket I can put things in, and then the description has a lot more details. And I'll submit that. I was just leaning on that. Okay. And it gets submitted. So the nice thing about this is it gives a little bit more visibility to all the different requests that are being made, and it gives users the ability to vote for them or remove your vote going one way or another. So that's another suggestion that came up while we were developing this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to walk through this system, and I'm going to build a feedback system right from scratch, and that will show you some of the ideas that we use to put this thing together. So we're going to go back to FileMaker. I'm going to create a new thing from a starter solution, and let's use estimates. And we'll save this on the desktop. Okay. So here's our estimates database. Remember, the whole idea is it's simple. So the first thing we need is a place to put our feedback items. So that means we need to get a new table for our feedback items. So I'm going to go to File, Manage the Database. And these are the tables that are already in the system. So we need a table in order to put our feedback items. Well, I'm just going to import the table from the demo file. That's all you guys were going to do anyway. You're not going to build the table from scratch. So we're going to open student feedback. And I'll open this with my admin account. And here are the tables that happen to be in this guy. Feedback. Simple name. That's what it's for. The names of the tables should be descriptive. Import. There. Okay. It just has 16 fields. Let's take a quick look at them. There's a unique key. You need a unique key. The title, the description. Resolution. That's to keep track of what I actually did or what you actually did to solve the problem. A creation timestamp, created by. And then everything from here on is sort of optional. A modification log, a modification timestamp. You need two containers, one to hold the screenshot and one to hold the snapshot. You need a status, the type of submission, whether it's a bug or a feature, and then a label. We're not going to use the label or the votes. Now, after you import the table, it creates a layout for us, and this is the one we're going to use as the developer layout. So I'm going to say Control-L to go into layout mode, and we're just going to get rid of the stuff that we're not going to be using. There. And we'll play with this guy later. So the first thing we need to do is to create a way to add a new record to our feedback table. So we're going to make a layout, and this is going to be our dialog box layout. So new layout in the feedback table, and it's going to be called feedback. And since this is a pop-up layout, like a dialog box, I always name them with a name and then pop-up, so I know what the function of this layout is. It's a computer, form, finish, and we're just going to put a couple of fields on here, the title, the description, and the type. Can I get all three? Okay. Get type. go. And let's get rid of that now. And we'll move this over. I'm going to take well, I'll leave those on. Let's talk about our inline instructions that we have for the database. This is a great new feature that you can do in FileMaker 13. You could do it in FileMaker older, but it was a lot more work. Remember when in the demo file, when you were in browse mode, it had a description of what you needed to do right in the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a piece of text, and we're going to say, enter a meaningful title. And I'm going to take this and make it italic. There. And we're going to put it just right on top of that field, right there. Now we're going to go to Data, and we're going to hide this object. We're going to use the FileMaker 13 feature, hide object when. So I want to hide that piece of text if there's something already written in the title. So hide object when not is empty title. So when there is a value in title, I don't need the instructions anymore. That's it. So let's go into browse mode. And there's our instructions. And if I click in here, there's no records. Let's just make a record. There. And if I click in here, say, this is the title. And when I click out, since title has a value, poof, it's just gone. This is a great technique. You can use this. This one you can use anywhere in your database, but it happens to be pretty useful right here. And I'm going to take that same field, move it down, and I'm going to put in here, description. One thing you might want to do is make sure that the text in the field lines up with the text in that field. Pardon me, the instruction text lines up with the visual lines in the field that you're filling out, just to make it a little visually more appealing. Don't forget, on the second instruction, you want to change the hide object when, and I'm just going to highlight it right inside the viewer window right here, and I'm going to type description, just like that. You don't actually need to use the pencil to edit the calculation. Let's go to browse and look at our handiwork. Here's enter a meaningful description. And I made it italic just so it stands out from what the normal text is that you'd be writing. The first description. Okay, so there's our first piece in the puzzle. We've got good inline instructions with what to do. Okay, so now we need to have a button. We need two buttons. One to cancel what we're doing, cancel the action, and the other to complete the action. So I'm going to draw my cancel button right here. Right now, it's not going to do anything, so I'll just put beep in it. And cancel. And we'll draw a second button. Make this one a little bigger because I want your eye to focus on the action, the actual thing that we're going to do. So that's beep. And it's going to be submit. And I'm going to make the words on that one a little bit bigger because, again, that's the majority of time you're going to submit it. You're not going to cancel. So you want your eye to go to the submit. And I'm going to use a different style just because it's very easy in FileMaker 13 now to pick a style and just use that guy. And we'll make this a little smaller. So that's our user interface. I didn't fill in the value list for type. We can do that on another if we have time later. Now we need to build the script. We need 3 scripts. One, to initiate the action, that is to draw the dialog box. A second script to cancel, and a third script to complete the action. 3 scripts, that's all we need. So I'm going to go to Manage Scripts, and the first thing we're going to do is create feedback. And what someone, when they select Create Feedback, either from the Help menu or if you'd rather do it from a button, the first thing it's going to do is create a new window. I'm going to make the dialog box. Window. Make a new window. We're going to give it a name, feedback. I'm not going to give it a height and a width, but I am going to give it a distance from the top. And I like to just take it and move it down a little bit from the top and left. Get window top plus 25, and then get window left 25. And we're going to use an advanced style because I want to keep that window in the front. I don't want it to be able to accidentally go into the back. And I'm going to turn off all of these other things because I don't want you can, but I don't necessarily want the user to resize it. There's really no need in this particular case to resize the window. So I'm going to say OK, OK. So we create a window, and then we have to go to Layout. The layout's going to be our pop-up window. And at this point, comment. We wait for user feedback. Action will be completed with, and I'm going to assume I'm going to name the next script submit feedback. This is a note to me as the developer, where do I look for the next part? So I'm going to create a new script called submit feedback. And this is where we're going to send the email and then close this window. So close window. We're going to write more on that in a moment. But what I'd like to do, I always like to start with the cancel button when I'm programming. So I want a way to back out of something. Oh, okay. So third one is cancel feedback. Close window. There. Okay. So let's go to our dialog box and we'll assign these 2 buttons. Cancel is going to be our cancel button. And submit is going to be our submit button. Okay. There. And let's go back just to our startup screen. Oops, I mean our company info. Okay, So when I create a feedback record, we open up a new window, go to our dialog box window. We actually have to create the record for our feedback. So new record, and just a little bit of cleanup for the window. We're going to Windows. I want to hide the toolbar, and we're also going to adjust the window so it looks nicer, resize to fit. If you're on the Windows platform, I would suggest using a custom function from Kevin Frank called Win Maximized. That would take care of the original window if it's maximized. It will let you know if it's maximized, so you can adjust that window also. But anyway, this is all we need to do for creating our feedback. Let's test this out. I'm going to go under Scripts, and we're going to create a feedback. There. It made our window, and see how it's displaced a little bit from the top left. And I can say Cancel, and it just closes it. The reason it's important to do that is when we say create our feedback, I took away the ability to just close this by doing this. And I did that for a very important reason. When we cancel that action, we need to also delete the new record that we just created. So let's go there, and we'll do that real quick. Submit feedback. That would be delete record. Before we close the window, you want to delete that record, and do that without a dialog box. And depending on your situation, you'll have to run that with full access privileges because your users might not have the ability to delete feedback items. Hopefully not. What about that snapshot link? Let's do that next. I want to know what the situation is of the user, what layout he's on, what record is he on, what is their particular found set. This is exactly the job of a snapshot link. That's what a snapshot link does. It tells you what layout you're on, what record you're on, what your found set is, and even what your sort criteria is. So if we go in the list of actions, right down at the bottom, there is, no, it's not, save records. Under records, there's save records as snapshot link. So that action you want to do before you open up the new window, because before you open up the new window, you want to know what the user is looking at. So I want to save all the records that are being browsed right now, and I want to specify an output file. So this is where your first trick comes in. So that file is going to be something that's different every time. I'm going to put in a variable name, and I'm going to call it file. And now I have to declare that variable. So let's put that up here. And the variable is called file. And we're going to call that, we need to define a location and a name for it. So the location, we're going to use one of our get functions, get temporary path. The temporary path is a great place to put things that you're only going to use once or you're only going to use temporarily, like the name suggests. Get temporary path, and what I'm going to call the file is going to be get account name, because I want to know who did it. I just want something that's convenient. Get account name, and then I have to specify the extension. So I'm going to put a piece of text at the end here, .fmp snapshot link, SL, there. So the name of the file is going to be temporary path, account name, FMP SL. So when someone clicks the button, I create a variable, I save my snapshot link to that variable, open up a window, go to the layout, make a new record, do some window dressing, hide the toolbar, adjust the window. but I need to save that snapshot link. So what I'm going to do is insert a file. There it is. Insert file. I'm going to insert the file into our feedback table, into the snapshot field. That's a container field. And for the name of our source file, we're going to use the variable that we created up here. Just file. That's all you need to do. And we're not going to use any dialog boxes because everything is predefined. It's just going to work. Okay, let's try this out. So here I am. I'm on the estimates table. Pardon me, I'm on the customer layout, and I'm looking at one customer. And I'm going to go to scripts. I'm going to create my feedback. There's my dialog box. And I'm just going to say, put something in there, and then I'm going to submit it, and it closed. So let's go to our feedback layout, and we'll go to the last one. Oh, nuts. Why did that happen? Because it's the demo. It's supposed to put that in there. So tell you what, let's turn on the script debugger, and we'll see what happened. Create my variable. Let's see what that variable is called. Drive, blah, 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 admin. Okay, that looks good. Make a new window, go to my layout, make a new record, hide this, hide this. Okay, so this is the one that didn't work. So we're going to say insert, and I got a 102, and I'm going to click on that, and that means field is unavailable, something like that. Field is missing. Okay, why is that field missing? You know what? Let's open up the demo file, and let's see. Open recent. Oh. And feedback, snapshot, file, FMPSL. Okay. This is a good learning moment. We'll figure it out. Let's see if that field is on the layout. I'm pretty sure it's not. Pop up. Layout. Yeah, when you're inserting, you're right. Adler called that. Yeah. When you're inserting from a field, when you're inserting a file, insert file, you have to have access to that file. So what we're going to do over on the right-hand side, which is outside of what the user will see, we're going to put our snapshot right there. The user can't see it. That's good. So let's test that out. Go to customers. Create feedback. Here it is. Mark is great. And let's go to our feedback. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's just move on. Actually, you know what it is? It's in the submit part. Because we probably need to commit the record. Let's walk through the sample file. That's, I think, clearer. we commit the requests, and after we commit the requests, we check to make sure that it has a description. So if the title or the description is empty, I exit out, give the user a chance to complete that. If the type is empty, I don't need to stop the user dead in their tracks. I just give them a dialog box where they can select what the type is. And then after that's done, we send the email. So the email goes to whoever you are, and it can have whatever subject you want. And in the email goes the title, the description, and who submitted it. And I've attached the Snapshot link right to the email. That's optional. You obviously don't need to do that. And then you also want to submit it. You want to send the file using SMTP in order to lower the amount of intervention that the user has. And the other thing I just want to point out real fast before we start to wrap up is, how do you collect that screenshot? So collecting that screenshot is actually not that hard. You have to use the plugin. You use the plugin from 360works, and it's a free plugin called ScriptMaster. And what we're doing is setting a global field, which is a container field, and that global field is set using a function from ScriptMaster called screen capture. And what it does is it takes, as advertised, it takes a screen capture. You have to give it the 4 coordinates. So from the top left, so that's 0, 0, and then how far to the right and how far down. So I use 2 get functions, get width and get height, and that gets the entire screen, and it grabs it into a global field. In this particular case, I'm using a global field. That gives me the ability to not save it right away. So I could ask the question later, do you want to save it? Do you want to allow me to save that container? And then if the answer is yes, I just take that global field and move it over into the real field. Not save that. You know what? I think I'm going to go back to the presentation, and we'll start to wrap up, and we'll see if we have any questions. So these are the techniques that we did, the inline directions. We took a snapshot link. We took a screenshot right at the beginning of the process, and we used some advanced window formatting. This way, you don't have to actually pause a script or do anything like that. The important points on this type of technique is you have to be able to get to it from anywhere in your system. Actually, another way to do that, in addition to using the help menu, is to use the scripts menu. At another client I have, they have a couple of different things in the script menu that they use. Control 1 takes them to their home screen, Control 2 does something, and Control 4 does the feedback. And everyone at that particular company knows if there's trouble, just Control 4 it and send a message to Jerry. So that's also nice to have muscle memory on your fingers if that's what you like. The other thing that's really important is follow-up. People don't like to just talk into an empty room. They like to be able to get feedback from the person who's going to take the action. So whether or not you're giving feedback directly to the users or if it's filtered through a coordinator, it's very important to have that little button on the bottom left where you can send them an email. I got it. I'm working on it. Just you don't even have to go any more than that. Just 2 lines is great. In addition, it's always nice to give credit where credit is due. If someone comes up with a good idea or a good feature, you want to let their boss know that they've done that and let other people know, like, oh, this was a good idea, and Robin Story gave me that idea. Just so it's just being polite. I'd like to leave you with a nice thought. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. everyone is smart. You just have to put them in the right context for them to come up with good ideas. And your users all know what they're doing. They're in your database all day long. They can actually do that for you. And when they make you look good, you make them look good, and then everybody's happy. Some of the techniques that I used today, I got from Scriptmaster. There's the link. I'm sure you can find it on the web. Bugzilla, I told you about for the voting technique. And grabbing information about the system was an idea I got actually from looking at the Cisco web portal. It's amazing the amount of information they grab from you without you even knowing it. But anyway, that's what they do. Stay in touch with us. If you don't know our email, there it is. We have a blog for our company. It's right there. You can get to it from our homepage. We also have a blog on the FileMaker users group, Philly FileMaker users group. And that concludes the seminar. We're going to take a couple of questions. I'm going to open up the questions thing, and let's see what we have. Yeah, I'll be making the demo file available. I'm just going to go down this list. Users typically like to know what their feedback submission was received and appreciated at the time they submit it. Does your system allow this sort of acknowledgement? No, I actually like to look at the feedback and make sure that it's something that I need to take action on. I don't typically, you could have it automatically send them back information. Okay. I answered this one. Plug in screenshot, I answered that one. Do you need, someone asked about the storage mode for the containers. You could make them either remote containers or embedded in the database. It doesn't really matter. That option is invisible essentially to you, the developer. If typically your mileage will vary, but I have in the orders of tens, maybe hundreds of feedbacks. It's really not a lot of storage space. So I would recommend keeping it simple. Oh, I had some script steps that were in color and they were numbered. That's using a wonderful plugin, which is going to be the topic of another talk called Monkey Bread software. Sorry, it's a Mac-only plugin though, for the color parts. It does SQL and PHP functions, and a lot of really great printer options, which are all cross-platform. But the numbering your script steps is a Mac thing. What if the record of a snapshot link has been deleted? Oh, well, you don't let, someone was asking about deleting these feedback records. This table is typically only for the developer. I usually keep it hidden from everyone except full access. And but if you could let them view it, just take away the deletion part. If you have the snapshot link saved separately and that record gets deleted, then there's no problem because there's no real link between that record and the snapshot link. It's just a place to store it. Okay, everyone likes those colors. Yeah, I know I didn't commit the record. And I think that's pretty much all the questions. If I didn't see anything else in here that, if I see something in here that I didn't address, it'll all be in the show notes. So that's that. Let me tell you about the next thing. Our next webinar is going to be next month. It will be Jeremiah Hammond. He's from one of the new members of the FM Academy, DB Services. He'll be transitioning us from paper to iPad. And we'll be looking at an inventory management case study along with customizing a starter solution. And I think that's the last slide. Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah. You guys know who we are? please pick the FileMaker developers in your area and contact us, ask us questions.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Mark Adler again. Just to remind everyone, October 21st at 2 p.m. is our next webinar. That's DB Services. Jeremiah Hammond is presenting. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We welcome your feedback. The files that Jerry mentioned and a recording of the webinar will be available on the FileMakerAcademy.com site. It'll be in the blog post section. Past webinars is the title. And then, of course, the announcement about the next webinar will be available on the home page probably in the next couple of days. Thank you again, and enjoy your day.